Okay, hopefully you can hear me now. That was a bit interesting. So we are in the East Frisian Islands in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So these are available from Orbx. If we just go and have a quick look. So here we go, the East Frisian Islands. They're off the northwest coast of Germany. So if I show you where they are on the map, so I've got the flight plan to go along each of them. So we zoom out slightly. Actually, let's do this in the Google map. Here we go. So you can see the labels of the place names, which is a bit more friendly for casual viewers than Orbx. So we're at Borkum, which is on the far westerly of the islands that are simulated. So in this scenery, you can see we're going to have some custom airfield buildings to go and have a look at. So I'm going to stop the aircraft at each of the islands and go and have a look. But before we go and look at that, I think it's worth having a look at the aeroplane. So this is a brand new aeroplane out from SimWorks Studios. This is the Vans RV8. There are various other versions of this in existence. So yeah, it's just worth pointing that out, I guess. So let's go and have a look around this Vans RV8, shall we? So it's really nicely modelled, as you kind of come to expect in the simulator these days. So attention to detail is very, very good. It's quite a simple aeroplane. I haven't actually flown it yet, so you're going to see me taking off for the first time in it. So what I may do, just to keep things simple today, although there isn't a cloud in the sky, I might actually go and put it on few clouds on the simulator weather, just so we've got some clouds in the sky to navigate around and see while we're flying. So we're just having a little look around the aeroplane to see how well modelled it is. So it's fixed gear. Obviously it's a tail dragger. So everything looks very good, doesn't it? So if you go and jump up into the cockpit and have a look around. So there are many different liveries and versions of the aircraft. This is one of the analog ones, and I've deliberately installed. When you install the aircraft, you get the choice of which radio kit you want in the airplane. So I deliberately chose the one with the GNS 530. Just because I thought, if we're going to have analog gauges, why not have an old retro GPS system? So if we go and have a look around, everything's modelled really nicely around the cockpit. And if we turn around and look behind us, you can see the passenger seat as well is very good. So we'll get it up and running in a moment. Before we leave though, I think it's going to be worth having a look. So we're at Borkum, as I said, so let's go and zoom across the airfield here and have a look at what they've done with modelling each of the airfields along the way. So the interiors don't appear to have been modelled, and I haven't got a problem with that at all. It's just nice to see airfields with accurate buildings. So they've obviously visited each airfield, and they've even put the photographs in the reflections of the control tower, which is quite funny. And there's more obvious evidence they've actually been there. They photographed the information displays of the advertisements for local businesses, which is quite cool. And there's obviously the bicycles in the bike rack. There's a few people dotted around. I haven't been close up to them to see how high resolution they are. Yeah, they're quite low resolution people, but again, who's going to complain? This is just background scenery really to make the airfields come alive a little bit more. So there's a children's playground here and a windsock. A few sheds around the airfield, or hangars. And we're out here on the grass at the moment. So let's just have a look at the airfield here then. So when we taxi out, we'll want to take the long taxiway, and we'll be able to use runway 13. It should be fine. We could use the grass runway 05, but we'll go 13 anyway. Okay, so let's go and jump inside our aeroplane if we can. Okay, Flight Simulator's done its famous trick where it won't actually allow us to control the views. So we'll take over and force it. So before we do anything then, let's go and turn the head tracking on, see how well it works with this aeroplane. It's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to be finding my way with this aeroplane. So we've got the battery, and obviously it's a kit aeroplane, so you've got labels stuck on for things, which is quite cool. I'm just going to get rid of the tooltips. I used them one evening while I was learning an aeroplane recently, but they actually drive me around the bend when they're on. Okay, so we're going to go and put the battery on. That sounds remarkably like a fuel pump, but instantly we seem to have, with power, we seem to have the attitude indicator, which is interesting because the avionics aren't on yet. So we're going to put the alternator on, put navigation lights on. We don't appear to have a beacon light. Okay, so then here we've got the fuel. So just out of interest, let's go and have a look and see how much fuel is in the aeroplane by default. So 50% full, that's good. So we don't want to put too much in. It'd be nice to see how much fuel we use along the way. So let's go and familiarise ourselves with, before we get any further, should we close the canopy? I was hoping that might make it a bit quieter. We've still got the wind noise, but it's cut out the ground traffic nearby. Okay, so we've put the power on. Obviously, it's going flat as we speak, so it would be good if we turn the engine over. So we've already done the fuel. We'll go and run the fuel pump for a few seconds. Now, does that have any appreciable effect on any of the needles? No, we haven't got a fuel pressure needle, which is interesting. So, oh, I know why. Okay, I'm just going to go and set my controls. I need to go and get an appropriate profile and then set the mixture and propeller levers. So, yeah, this has got completely the wrong profile on it at the moment. So let's go and get... I want throttle and propeller, really, not throttle and mixture. There we go. I've only got 2 levers, you see. So I'm being selective about which ones I'm going to have active control over. So, RPM and mixture, and we'll crack the throttle open, and we'll try that again. Very good. Okay, so we're looking for 1000 RPM. So alternator is already on, avionics on. Standby on the transponder. And we can hang on a minute for the rest of it. So this is the master power for the autopilot, but there's actually autopilot on off there, so we'll put autopilot on. We'll have a play with it while we're flying. Should we have a look outside? See what it sounds like. Just going to check the volume levels as well, because I've got it running at 100%. Yeah, you can still hear me over it, which is good. Should we try opening it up? Okay, let's go and switch on the GPS, wait for it to capture, and we'll go and program the airfields in, leave the airplane just warming up while we're doing this. very cool, isn't it? It looks very nice inside. So let's go and calibrate the altimeter while we're here. So we've got an HSI, a modern HSI. Just waiting for this, and then we'll go and quickly program in. There's only 5 or 6 airfields to program in, hardly any. So Borkum, Just, Norderney, Baltrum, Langarug, Langarug, and Vangaruga. So Borkum will be the first one, so let's go and program each of these in. Okay, so flight plan. First one is Echo Delta Whiskey Romeo. Enter. Next one, Echo Delta Whiskey Juliet. Next one, Echo Delta Whiskey Yankee. Then Echo Delta Whiskey Zulu. Then Echo Delta Whiskey Lima. And finally, Echo Delta Whiskey Golf. So then if we come back out of the flight plan page and increase the range on this, we'll be able to see the route. We can put this back onto the first page of the page group in the GNS 530 and center the view up. So we want to put the taxi lights on, if it will let us. There we go. Let's have a look and see what they look like as well. I'm presuming it's those tiny lights that's kind of half illuminated on the wings. So from where we are parked, we want to do a U-turn to the left and then follow the taxiway out. So right, going right and then left onto the runway. Giving it a bit of back stick to force the tail wheel into the ground. This is where head tracking comes into its own, because I can lean around to see outside of the nose. So runway's just over there in the grass, hopefully. So was there a windsock anywhere nearby we can see? Not easily. If not, I'm going to resort to having a look at the map to see what we've got. So yeah, wind coming in from our left side. It's quite a strong wind actually. Okay, let's see how we get on. Actually, before we do that, famous last words, just going to go and have a quick look. So landing lights on, strobe lights on. So that's the stall warning. Okay, so we've gone into the grass slightly. Yeah, the taking off with that crosswind with a boot full of rudder on a first takeoff on this aircraft wasn't the best idea ever. So I think for the purposes of today, I mean, look at it, weathercocking into the wind. If it is trying to, even against a bank angle, I'm going to go and change our weather because we really don't want to have an extreme piloting experience for this first flight. So I'm going to turn it back to a few clouds so we can actually just enjoy rather than fight the elements. So come back to 75% throttle. So this scenery pack from Orbx covers all of the islands. There's landmarks apparently and texture maps, photographic updates along each of the islands. They've all had the treatment then, if you want to put it that way. So we'll do a little touch and go here at the first airfield, just to get a feel for the aeroplane. How are we doing on the volumes internally? So it's a bit loud, isn't it? Shall I turn it down a bit so you can at least hear me over it easily? Okay, that should be better now. God, that wind on the flaps is quite severe, isn't it? So I haven't done a stall test yet either, so I have no idea how this aeroplane's going to behave in that situation. Oh, hello, someone spawned in at the airfield. Just getting a feel for the aeroplane. So at full power, it doesn't actually go beyond limits on the manifold pressure or the RPM, which is interesting. Obviously we'll improve each touchdown as we go, but that was a first look at the aeroplane really. It's very, very stable. Okay, I've turned the weather off, so we've got some nice still air, but it's incredibly stable. So let's just trim it for level flight. And go and set our course for the direction we're going. I'm going to turn head tracking off to do this. Being a real so-and-so. As it picks up speed, it's picking up lift, obviously. So I'm putting in a lot of forward trim. And the click spot for the... That's interesting, look. I hadn't actually moved the mouse. With the mouse on top of the course, it's losing the click spot for it. And it's done it with that as well, look. I think it's because the middle of it is a separate function, so you can push and pull the... Okay, yes, you can push and pull each roller, which makes the mouse click spots for them very, very small. Okay. Let's do some tests then while we're en route to our first waypoint. So, do a stall test. We'll turn some of this airspeed we've got into altitude. Okay, let's go a bit higher and do a spin test on the way. Surprised it didn't shake. So we heard all the buffeting, but it didn't really move around, did it? So let's get up to 3,000 feet and climbing. We're only 6 miles away from our first leg of our route. So we're just going to take it up and do a spin test while we're on the way. We ought to be leaning out the mixture while we're doing that. Okay, so we're coming up for 5,000 feet. Let's see how we get on then. So, it will fall straight down if you get it right. But if you don't, that will happen. Okay, so you can't easily get it to enter a spin. So let's force it in and see what happens. So coming back up towards 5,000 and carrying on the direction we were heading. It's got a fantastic climb rate. Okay. Can we get it to fall? It's not going to easily happen, is it? He says as it almost tips in. So it's not easy to get it to go in. You can get kind of an incipient spin going on, but you can't get a fully developed one very easily at all. Let's give it one more go. We'll be descending in a moment anyway. You can see the airfield down there at the end of the island. So just coming up again. So this time, instead of going in a nose up attitude, we'll just go in level, and if we can get it to drop a wing, we'll go that way with the rudder as well. Okay, let's go in level, so the speed is coming off. We're down to 80 knots already. Feeding in rudder as we speak. Oh, sorry, not rudder, elevator to hold the nose, hold the attitude. So let's pull it up a bit. No, it's not going to, is it? Trying to get one wing to stall ahead of the other. It's not going to have it. That's interesting. Okay, so if we do left pattern around to come in, just visually. So it's almost unspinnable as far as I can see, because I was kicking in a bit full of rudder there to try and get one wing to stall before the other, and it just wasn't having it. It was just mushing. Whereas the first time we stalled, we did see it drop a wing, which is interesting. Okay, so this airfield we are just approaching, if we have a quick look outside, is East. So in this one pack from Orbx you get, is it 6 airfields on 6 of the islands, and lots of landmarks apparently around the islands have been improved and upgraded. Okay, we're going to go for a touch and go. So you can see the flaps there. Let's see how quickly they move. Yeah, so the flaps don't move too quickly. So we saw from our first approach when we were just learning the aeroplane, it goes quite heavy once you get below about 70 knots. So, you know, it starts to fall. So we'll keep it at about 70 knots if we can, just from past experience, on full flaps, and see how we get on. Three-pointed it by accident, but there we go. So we're just bouncing along the runway, so let's raise the flaps. And we'll come back in and stop the next time. And go and have a look around the airfield. person that was hot dogging has smashed into the ground and skidded across the runway in front of us. I'll have to turn that multiplayer aircraft off, I think, in a moment. It's unfortunate, but sometimes this happens. I wonder what the turning circle is like. Can I double this back around within the parking space? Just put myself over there next to the... Okay, we'll leave our aeroplane ticking over here, and we'll go for a look around the airfield. So the airfield we're at now is East, as I said. So if we go and have a look, I haven't actually updated LittleNavMap, so its perimeters will be wrong at the moment. So let's go and have a look. It's interesting. So I imagine the bank is to protect these houses. There's a recreation area here. Basketball court and some football goals. Hangars, control tower, the cafe. Very cool. Again, the people are quite low resolution, but I don't really mind that, because if it doesn't impact the frame rate too much, I think most people will be quite happy with that. It's just nice to have a bit of colour in the scenery, isn't it? A bit of variation. And obviously this is based on the real place, so they've gone and photographed it and placed markings in where they can, and like these buildings and walls and things are obviously accurate to the real place. Very cool. So Paul is asking, do I have the Orbx mesh add-on? No, I don't. I've just bought the Frisian Islands, so we're going to go and fly along them basically. So back in the airplane, on to the next island. Put the center my view up. Let's try a no flap takeoff then to see how it gets on. Narrowly avoid the van. So next waypoint, 6 miles directly in front of us. So we carry on east basically for this route. Interesting. This is still playing games with the views are all messed up in the simulator. So what would normally be my outside view isn't working anymore. Interesting. Oh, it is. It was just the Xbox controller was drifting. So I think this will be worth a low pass to go and have a look at. So they've obviously put some scenery in here. So let's go and find out the name of this place we're actually flying around. So Norderney, it's the name of the main settlement on the island. Be interested to see what these are on the beach. It's not immediately obvious what's going on down there. Some more along here. Let's slow down and have a look. Whatever it is actually hitting the frame rate quite hard. They look like beach shelters. Lots and lots and lots of them. So the airfield is to our right. We'll go and scout it out and see where we're going to approach from. So we can see the control tower over there. Yeah, you definitely start to get the wings complaining at about 70 knots with full flaps. Three-pointed it again, quite heavily, but it did it. It's an interesting tower there, isn't it? So obviously when they were talking about the custom structures, can we stop in time to make this turn? Yes, we can. So if we pull over onto the grass alongside the other aeroplanes, let's go and have a look around the airfield. Let's turn off the head tracking to do this. There appears to be an old train carriage here that's a cafe. Either that or an office. And then the control tower with a cafe. Flughafen Kiosk. Norderney. Flughafen Norderney. It's very cool, isn't it, seeing the, even though they're not the highest resolution, to get so much scenery in one pack is actually really nice. And because it's quite basic, it doesn't affect the frame rate too much. So that's Norderney. Let's go and jump inside our aeroplane then. So there's a comment on the live stream from Paul Aerosmith saying he wonders if it's worth buying anything for 2020 anymore with 2024 around the corner. Well, seeing as it's going to be backwards compatible, and if you kind of took that opinion, you would never buy anything because there's always going to be something better coming. So I'd rather have the fun now than wait for months. That being said, I am saving up and have been for quite some time to buy a new machine ready for 2024. So I am going to be upgrading quite significantly. It will be interesting to see how different 2024 will be over 2020. I suspect it's just an engine change, to be honest, because they won't be able to redevelop. You're looking at 10 years worth of development in the current sim and 5 years worth of add-ons that have come out now, or 4 years I should say at the moment, but you get my point. So I fully expect the vast majority of add-ons will be backwards compatible. Let's get rid of the flaps. Got a nice long runway here. Okay, so next airfield that we're heading towards is just over the way. Look, Beltram is the next one. It's not very far at all. It's just on the next island. So we've got a series of very quick hops. There's a huge wind farm out there, look, on the coast of Germany to the south of us. So where is the airfield and where's its orientation? Okay, so we can do a left circuit straight in on 27. It's not very long, so we need to take that into account. But we'll see that as we come past. How are we doing for fuel, by the way? That's a good point. Where is the fuel gauge? Amps, volts, manifold pressure, tachometer. Oh, here we go. So we've hardly used any, but we could switch over to the other tank just to level it up. Yeah, it's quite a short runway, isn't it? So this is Beltram. We're just approaching. So my opinion on 2024 is I think it's going to introduce more game elements to appeal to a wider audience. But I think the core simulation will remain pretty much the same, but obviously it will perform better because they know where the bottlenecks are and they know what they would have done differently when they built 2020. You know, hindsight's a wonderful thing. So I think the game elements will be more obvious, but I'm guessing they'll remain optional. If they don't, they'll lose a huge chunk of their audience, I guess. I don't know. We'll wait and see. Okay, so someone's making an idiot of themselves. Let's go and have a look around and see what they've modelled here. Obviously it's a much smaller airfield, so there's a few shipping containers that are used to store things. There's the main sign and the flag. There's a hangar. Obviously in the real world there's a few more extra buildings and they haven't modelled them, which is a bit of a shame. But the basics are here. So it would appear there's grass runways here, look, you can see them cut into the ground. There's a grass runway there, look, alongside the main runway in the real world, I guess. And another one here. Okay, on to the next one. Yeah, I think the multi-threading should hopefully make a huge difference, but you never know. It's a very difficult thing to do. Multi-threading in such time-sensitive programming is really tough. You know, it all has to be synchronized. The only problem with a lot of these buildings, they're not running very smoothly. I'm not sure if that's something they've done with the scenery or what, but it's nowhere near as smooth as the generic Asobo scenery. I don't know if that's the aeroplane or the scenery that's causing it. Okay, so next airfield is just across on the next island, so it's Langaoog. So we're flying at 1,500 feet. Let's see who this is. So is that the runway in the field over here? Let's have a look at the map. Looks like it is. That is the runway. Okay, let's slow down. So there's actually quite a long taxi, isn't there, down to the buildings? I say a long taxi, it's quite a small airfield, so it's probably not that long in reality, but it seems it from here. I'm always really careful with tail draggers on the wheel brakes. I'm petrified of them nosing over. It's got very dark in the sky all of a sudden, hasn't it? That cloud going in front of the sun. So I think we said this is Langaoog, wasn't it? Let's have a look at the map. Yeah, Langaoog. Interesting buildings. see if we can. Turn the plane around before we park up. Oh, look, the yellow van's going to reverse straight into us. That's going to be an expensive fix. Okay, let's go and get the drone camera then and have a look around at Langaoog even. Very cool. They obviously took a lot of pictures when they visited this one. They were in a hurry, weren't they? Hansa Cafe. Flugplatz Langaoog. So let's have a quick look at the airfield as a whole. Interesting. Okay. Come back down to our aeroplane and we'll carry on to the next one. While we're taxiing, it's straight on to the final airfield, which is Vangaroga. So my pronunciations are based on a visit to Google Translate before I started recording, or before I started broadcasting. So if they're wrong, we'll blame Google. I'll stick to that. So I think we've probably got enough runway here to do... No, we haven't. I'm going to backtrack. Just remembered we were flying on a lean engine for the last couple of hops, which hasn't, well, it didn't harm it, but not exactly advisable. Okay, let's go. Should we get a little bit of height on the way? Do some aerobatics maybe. So it looks pretty much like a pattern aerobatic plane, doesn't it? So we'll get some speed up. And see how it performs some basic aerobatics along the way. So, nose up, and then aileron roll. Does it roll on its axis? Oh, it's got quite a lot of adverse aileron there. So yeah, look at the nose skewing. So if we roll opposite ailerons, it actually twists the nose quite a lot, so there's a lot of adverse yaw on the ailerons. What about a slow roll with Yeah, look at that kicking out the nose. Just seeing how much rudder we've got. So it will almost knife edge look. Almost. Okay, so let's go get some speed up. Okay, let's just run across to the next island then. So this island's called Spikarug. Yeah, these features they put in on the beaches do kind of murder the frame rate. It's a shame. We never played with the autopilot, did we? So if I go and engage it, it's going to go for pitch and roll hold, I'm guessing. So yeah, it's gone level. So I'm guessing you've got yeah, altitude hold, vertical speed, indicated airspeed mode. It's got vertical navigation. I guess that pairs in with the guidance system. Nav mode, which is obviously just lateral navigation. Yaw damper, that might help actually. Although you can't, I guess you can't have it on, have the yaw damper on its own and not the rest of the guidance, which is a shame. And it's got approach mode as well. That's interesting. Let's turn it off. Okay, so there's Vangaruga down at the far end of the airfield. But there are some modelled structures down here, so we might go and circle them. So that's obviously a navigation marker for shipping, I imagine, and a lighthouse. Get a closer look at it as we swing on past. Here we go. So is that what remains of an earlier grass airfield? Looks like it, doesn't it? Or is it just the way that the farmer has cut his crop? I love these cedar fences that are obviously, you know, earthworks that have been carved out of the landscape. So here's our airfield. This is our final airfield for the day at Vangaruga. Figuring out where the main buildings are. I don't think it really has many buildings, but look, oh, they're up in the top left corner, I think. Well, we can have a look once we've landed. There are some buildings over on the square area on the far side. I think there's a main building over in the corner. Apologies for the aeroplane that keeps buzzing me. So we're just taxiing in towards the main buildings here at Vangaruga. There's a grass runway here, look, marked out. It's very cool. The engine sound is very good. So if I run it on idle for long enough, will it actually cut it out? Or will it keep chugging along at minimum revs? Okay, so Flipplats of Vangaruga. Let's go and have a look around it with the drone camera, shall we? see how they've modelled it in the simulator. And then we'll go and shut our aeroplane down in a moment. It's very cool, isn't it? So what's this building down here? Is this a cafe or restaurant or something? Yeah, it's a restaurant. Unfortunately, they've reversed the graphic there. It works from this side though. Cafe, restaurant. Very cool. And there's some sort of seating area around the other side as well of the. Oh, it's at the side of the restaurant, obviously. So you can have a nice quiet meal while somebody tests their aeroplane engine 50 feet away. Oh dear. Anyway, let's get this aeroplane shut down and see what we need to do. So if we just pull the mixture to, let's watch the propeller. That was very good. And then we'll go and turn off all these lights, turn off the avionics, turn off the alternator. Oh, we should have turned off the autopilot. And then turn the master battery switch off. And we can open this. We can shut the fuel back off. Oops. And then open the canopy. And we're done, basically. So, hopefully you've enjoyed that. So that was a first look at the Vans RV8 from SimWorks Studios. And the Orbx, I think it's called the East Frisian Islands. Let's go and have a quick look. So yeah, East Frisian Islands from Orbx. We had a look at there. And the Vans RV8 that you can get from SimWorks Studios. I don't think it's in the marketplace yet. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.